when silence becomes your strongest weapon. Have you ever felt like the more you try to explain yourself, the more people misunderstand you? The more you try to prove you're right, the more they see you as weak? I used to be that way. I used to believe if I just speak the truth, everything will be clear. But the truth is, the more I spoke up, the more exhausted I felt. And they just kept walking, like it never mattered. Everything changed the day I discovered Stoicism, especially a quote from Marcus Aurelius that shifted everything. You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. That's when I began to understand. Sometimes silence isn't surrender, it's strength. And in this video, I want to share with you 6 moments in life when silence becomes the most powerful answer you can give. Because I know, maybe you're tired too. Tired of having to explain yourself. Tired of being misunderstood, betrayed, or dismissed. But here's something I wish I had learned earlier. Karma doesn't need your voice. It just needs your silence and your quiet commitment to integrity. So join me on this journey through Stoicism, where you'll learn how to steady your mind even when everything around you is trying to pull you under. And stay until the end, because the final lesson might just change the way you see silence forever. 1. When you're lied about and truth becomes your only ally. There's a kind of feeling that keeps you up at night. Not pain, but being misunderstood. It's even worse when you know you've done nothing wrong, yet people still twist your story. And the rumors spread fast, like ink in water, drifting far beyond your control. Your first instinct? You want to explain everything, clearly, completely. But the Stoics offer a different perspective. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not true, do not say it. If it is not right, do not do it." You don't need to clean up lies you didn't create, because the more you try to justify yourself, the more you unknowingly give away your power. When you say, "I didn't do that," what you're really saying is, "I need you to believe me." And that's exactly when the liar feels like they've won, because you've started playing their game. I have a friend. His name is James. He's a manager at a marketing firm. Kind, honest, well-respected by everyone. Until one day, a rumor spread. People whispered that he was playing favorites, that he was taking bribes under the table to choose certain partners. No one said it to his face, but their looks changed. Fewer emails. He started being left out of meetings. I asked him, "Why don't you speak up? Why don't you tell people what's really going on?" He just smiled and said, "Those who trust me don't need me to explain, and those who already doubt me won't believe me anyway." So he kept doing what he'd always done, quietly, steadily, with integrity. And a few months later, the truth came out. The person who started the rumor, turned out they had a history of sabotaging others. James never had to defend himself. The truth did it for him. And more importantly, he kept his calm and his character. That's what Stoicism teaches. Don't let yourself be controlled by someone else's false narrative. Let time and your actions speak for you. If you're being misunderstood right now, remember, no one can take the truth from you unless you hand it over. A Stoic doesn't live to be understood. They live to stay aligned with their values. And truth always finds a way to surface, quietly but sharply. But there's another kind of hurt, deeper than lies. It doesn't come from strangers. It comes from someone close. When you're betrayed, when someone you trusted turns their back on you. In the next part, I'll share a real story about how silence can be louder than any confrontation and why a Stoic doesn't chase apologies. They hold onto their dignity. Stay with me, because sometimes silence after betrayal is the most powerful goodbye of all. 2. When betrayal strikes and you're tempted to demand closure. Betrayal isn't like the lies that come from strangers. It comes from people who once called you family, best friend, or soulmate. Betrayal hurts because it cuts where you're softest, your trust. And when it happens, the first thing you crave is an explanation, a why, an apology, something, anything to make you feel like you weren't just a game to them. But a Stoic doesn't seek closure from others. They find peace from within. Seneca once wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Backstabbing doesn't make us weaker. It reveals what strength was hiding inside all along. Because the more you ask why, the more you try to make them feel guilty. The more you hand your emotions to someone who no longer deserves them. I have a friend. Her name is Sarah. She and her best friend had known each other for over 10 years. From struggling through college, to building careers, to starting families, that friend had always been there. Until one day, Sarah discovered the truth. Turns out, that same friend had been talking behind her back, leaking private things to coworkers, and even trying to sabotage a major project Sarah had poured her heart into. Do you know what Sarah did? She didn't send a message. She didn't confront her. She didn't expose her. She just disappeared. No goodbye, no anger, no drama. And the other woman, after weeks of confusion and months of waiting for a reaction, began to feel the emptiness. Because that silence said more than any accusation ever could. Sarah didn't need justice. She just needed to hold onto her dignity. You see, Stoicism doesn't teach us to be cold. It teaches us to walk away before the pain turns us bitter. If someone betrays you, don't try to make them understand your pain. They already know. They just don't care. Let your actions show them what they lost. And your silence. That's the most graceful goodbye you'll ever give. But sometimes, betrayal doesn't come in whispers behind your back. It comes from words said right to your face. Sharp comments, petty jabs, insults that make you feel small, especially when others are watching. None of us are immune to being insulted, directly or indirectly. And that's what the next part is about. When they insult you, and you learn to stay silent, to protect your worth. Let's keep going, because sometimes not responding is the most powerful way to respect yourself. 3. When you're being insulted and they just want your reaction. There are moments when words cut sharper than knives. A condescending remark, a sarcastic comment in front of a crowd, a subtle, mocking glance that says more than it should. And suddenly, you feel the urge to react, to clap back, to put them in their place. But you know what? Your reaction is exactly the reward they're hoping for. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The person insulting you doesn't care about right or wrong. They care about one thing, controlling your emotions. Because the moment you get angry, you lose the most precious thing a Stoic protects, your inner calm. I had a former coworker. His name was David. He had just been promoted after years of quiet, steady work. But instead of congratulations, someone in the meeting room said out loud, "Wow, I guess the company ran out of talent if they picked David." The room went silent. All eyes turned to David, waiting to see his reaction. But David? He just smiled, gave a small nod, and continued his presentation like nothing happened. No clapback, no tension, not even a shift in tone. And that calm response, it made the insulter more uncomfortable than any angry outburst ever could. Because David's silence wasn't weakness, it was strength. The kind that says, I'm not here to play your game. You see, a Stoic doesn't stay silent to win an argument. They stay silent to stay centered. So if someone insults you, look at them, then look within. If what they said isn't true, why be offended? And if it is true, thank them. They've just given you something to grow from. Calm isn't apathy. It's the power of someone who refuses to let others control their emotions. But there's a more subtle kind of insult. The kind that doesn't show up as a direct attack, but as emotional manipulation. When someone plays the victim and casts you as the villain in their story. That's what we'll explore next. When they play the victim, and you learn how not to fall for the trap. Keep going with me, because sometimes the best way to protect your peace is to refuse to act in someone else's drama. 4. When they play the victim and you're cast as the villain. Not everyone who cries is the one who's been hurt, and not everyone who stays silent is the one to blame. Some people aren't just good at acting. They perform not on a stage, but in real life. They twist every conflict into a narrative where they are the victim and you are the villain. And the cruelest part? You know the truth, but there's no way to explain yourself without looking worse in the process. Epictetus once said, "To complain is always non-productive and never appropriate." To a Stoic, being hurt doesn't mean you have to cry out. In fact, the larger someone's ego, the more they crave pity to sustain it. When someone plays the victim, they're not after the truth. They're after an audience. And the moment you try to explain, to defend, to clarify, you've unknowingly stepped onto the stage of a show they are directing. I used to work with someone. Let's call her Rachel. She was meticulous, serious, and always kept things professional and transparent. But there was another colleague, someone who constantly showed up late, avoided responsibility. And whenever Rachel addressed it, this person would cry. "I didn't know she hated me so much. I'm just trying to survive my days." Suddenly, people began looking at Rachel differently, as if she was cold, unkind, lacking compassion. At first, Rachel tried to explain herself. She presented facts, sent emails, talked to HR. But the more she spoke, the more she looked like someone trying too hard to be right, while the others simply cried at just the right moments. So one day, Rachel stopped talking. No more justifying, no more arguing. She focused on her work, quietly, consistently, patiently. And over time, others began to notice something. That same victim story kept happening with everyone. And when the truth eventually revealed itself, Rachel didn't have to win because she had never lost. To a Stoic, truth doesn't need to be shouted to be real. It just needs you to stand your ground long enough. If you've been painted as the villain by someone playing the victim, don't explain. They're not looking for fairness. They're looking for attention. Don't step into the performance while your role has already been written. Step back. Let them act until there's no one left in the audience. Your silence isn't weakness. It's how you protect your dignity without saying a word. And sometimes you don't need accusations or tears. The deepest pain comes from the relationships where you gave your all, but your worth was never truly seen. No one insulted you. No one betrayed you. They simply overlooked you. They didn't see what you brought into the space. And that's what we'll explore next: the quiet pain of being unappreciated, and why, in that moment, silence becomes your boldest declaration of self-worth. Stay with me, because sometimes the only thing they need to finally see you is your absence. 5. When your value is ignored and you're tired of explaining it. Maybe one of the most exhausting feelings in life isn't being betrayed, isn't being insulted. It's when you give quietly, patiently, consistently, and in return, you get silence, disinterest, or worse, you're treated like you're just expected. And you start to wonder, am I asking for too much or just asking for what I deserve? A Stoic doesn't look for recognition from others because they understand your worth does not decrease because someone else refuses to see it. Seneca once wrote, "Time discovers truth," and that applies to your value too. Not everyone can see what you bring to the table until you're no longer at the table. Sometimes your absence speaks louder than all your presence ever could. I know someone. Let's call him Jake. Jake is the kind of person who always thinks of others. Friends forget his birthday, he still calls to wish them first. Coworkers need help, he stays late, no questions asked. Family needs something, he cancels his own plans. He shows up, he listens, he gives. But one day, he stopped. He stopped checking in, stopped texting first, stopped always being the one who cared more. And what happened next? Silence. No one noticed. No one reached out. No one asked where he'd gone. And that's when Jake realized he wasn't truly valued. He was just convenient. Stoicism teaches us, don't put your self-worth in someone else's hands. You don't need to shout to be seen. You just need to stand up and walk away when the time is right. If you feel overlooked right now, don't try to prove what you're worth. Don't repeat patterns that leave you feeling empty. Just take your energy back. Let your absence recalibrate their perspective. And if they don't realize what they lost, maybe they never truly valued you to begin with. But one day, the people who once dismissed you, who stayed silent when you needed them, they'll return with regret in their eyes, with apologies that come too late. They'll say, "I didn't know how much you mattered until you weren't there anymore." And in that moment, you'll face a choice: to return or to keep walking in silence. In the final part of this journey, I'll share why silence in the face of regret is one of the deepest lessons Stoicism has to offer. Keep walking with me, because sometimes forgiveness doesn't live in words. It lives in the choice to never look back. 6. When they regret losing you, but it's already too late. Some apologies come too late, not because they don't feel regret, but because they never truly believed you would leave. They thought you'd always be there, patient, forgiving, waiting. Even when they stopped appreciating you, stopped listening to you, stopped really seeing you. But when you finally walked away, quietly, without anger, without a dramatic exit, it was that silence that made them start hearing all the things you once tried to say. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." True freedom isn't just about walking away from someone. It's being free from the expectation that they'll ever change. A Stoic doesn't hold grudges, and they don't cling to relationships that no longer hold value. They simply choose their freedom. I once knew a woman. Her name was Olivia. She was warm, patient, always there for the one she loved. She listened, she gave, she forgave, over and over again. But over time, her presence became invisible. Her boyfriend always thought, "She won't leave. She's used to me now." Until one day, she packed up and left. No tears, no shouting, just silence. At first, he thought, she just needs space. Then weeks passed, then months, and finally, he understood. She's really gone, and I've lost the most precious thing I ever had. But by then, it was too late. You see, a Stoic doesn't go silent to create drama. They go silent to protect their boundaries and their dignity. If someone only begins to see your worth when you're gone, remember, their regret is not your responsibility. Their return doesn't mean you have to reopen a door that once caused you pain. Forgiveness doesn't always mean going back. And sometimes, silence after being lost is the most noble answer of all. So you've walked with me through 6 moments in life when silence becomes your strength. Not because you're weak, not because you have nothing to say, but because you've grown to a place where you no longer need to say it all. You're not trying to control others. You're learning to master yourself. You always have the option of not having an opinion. That's real power. Marcus Aurelius. If you're on your own journey toward inner peace like I am, leave a comment below with your favorite Stoic quote. And if this message touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Keep walking the path of Stoicism, because you deserve peace. Not when the world changes, but when you're strong enough not to be shaken by it.